Hey Akhilesh, a very warm welcome to the episode 3 of Conversation with Mayank series. How are you doing today?
Um, First of all, I'll thank you for inviting me on this platform to have a conversation with you. Yeah, I'm doing very great. Currently, I'm working on a product launch, like I told you. And yeah, the work is phenomenal, to be frank, a really new experience. So, learning from it.
Yeah, so as far as I know, like you're working with the Reliance and like as of now you were involved in a product launch. So if you can highlight like something related to a product launch, like particular to your role with respect to product launch and keeping in mind definitely your confidentiality and all other things.
Uh, sure, Mike. As you know, currently I'm working with Reliance as part of their general management program in Reliance Emerging Leaders 2023. So I was allocated to a newly established company under Reliance Retail, which is Reliance Consumer Products Limited. Here we have a lot of FMCG products. We have a staples department. We also have a beverages department. So I'm particularly working with the FMCG sales head India, national sales head. Uh, we are currently launching a product called Allen's Bugles. So this comes under the snacks category. We have two SKUs primarily. One is a corn-based product, and second one is chips. So Allen's chips is a normal chips kind of a product, but the Bugles is an imported product from Spain. So this product is available in approximately 70 countries. All the raw material is imported here by Reliance, and we use specific seasoning, which is nation specific, which is India specific, and we are marketing it here. So we launched it in Kerala a few months back. In the last month, we launched it in Karnataka. So primarily, our focus is South region first, and then we'll move to the north. And I am at this point of time working on the GTM, that too, particularly the execution. So we have our senior leaders who have charted down what are the things that we need to do in terms of ideation, in terms of maybe following certain methodology to launch a product. Since we are not at the scale of HUL, but the aim of the company, the vision of the company is to become the second or third biggest player by the end of fifth year. So by the end of 2028, we are planning to reach at that stage. And
So as far as remember, you have participated in a lot of case competitions in like particular your time at case. So whether those like participation in a case competitions have helped you in like a role like a marketing or maybe a genuine roles like you have presented to lots of senior leaders there in a corporates. So whether the learnings from a case competition is helping you in like when you're working at a corporate.
uh, the answer to this question is definitely a yes. And I'd like to structure it in two parts. So first was my experience before MBA as well. So that was also slightly towards marketing and sales. But there I was primarily working in terms of execution. I was not working on the ideation part of it, right? When I got into K, I was slightly clear that either I'll go for general management or marketing if that opportunity comes to me. And eventually, I got into companies which offer general management roles, and I pushed for marketing in that specifically, right? So when I was doing case competitions, the idea was very clear that this is the domain that I want to focus on. There are case comps on various domains, like it might be operations, it will be consulting, banking, BFSI, product management specifically. That's something which is in a lot of boom, and sales and marketing, not last but not the very least. And they offer a wide portfolio of projects, you can say, or problem statements that you can say, on which you can work. So in terms of gaining knowledge from case competitions, we gain knowledge starting from the product introduction phase to how are you going to plan the value chain in terms of where should be the manufacturing plants, how are you going to maybe distribute those products to certain markets, which are the markets that you should focus on depending on the market specifics, at the same point of time product specifics, and what should be the overarching view of the company when they are maybe launching a new product. So, for example, if you're talking about perfumes and if you're talking about an FMCG company, so are you going to launch perfumes with a completely new category, or are you going to categorize it into personal care, for example? Maybe you'll give a sub branding of a soap that the company already has, and or are you going to maybe launch a completely new product? So there are many things which correlate to it, and that brainstorming you do when you are doing case comps, there are a lot of corrections. And in the process, when you interact with the senior leaders of the company, so for example, I had that opportunity to interact with the CEO of Colgate Palmolive India,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
and she kind of gave us a lot of insights on how these senior leaders make decisions. So, is it always data driven, or there is some anticipation when they are maybe launching a new product or maybe changing a strategy, or is it completely new? So, there are a lot of things that you are not aware of when you are maybe not participating into these things. Second thing is, I believe that you get a sense of how these individuals think. So I think that would be the brief answer for what you asked for.
Got it. So like I have seen you moving like around the corridors and going to libraries. So like before joining a college, like whether you were very clear in your mindset, like you when you will be going to your MBA, so you will be focusing more on the case competition and like participating in so much of the case competition and driving your journey towards that, or it was like after joining a college, you became more aware about the case competition scenarios and all of those stuffs.
I think this is a slightly delayed decision. This was not something that I thought of in the beginning. Of course, I was interested in case forms, but like you know, academics is also something that is very
Yeah.
important. Then many of our peers were here for networking as well. Some individuals maybe were here just for doing the MBA, and then they might join their family business as well. So everyone had different ideas with respect to why they are doing their MBA. I wanted to explore primarily in terms of marketing and sales, as well as some overarching ideas of consulting and general management. That what are the basic things that are required when you're looking for these kind of roles? How you can maybe add more value to the company in the short term, maybe after 3 years, 4 years completing your MBA, and which is the best way to learn things, right? So in the first 2 weeks, I realized that via application you are going to learn a lot more things than just maybe focusing a lot on academics. Of course, academics is a priority, but I felt that I cannot manage both at the same point of time, and I started putting in more efforts in terms of case competitions from that point onwards. And that was a very conscious decision. So it was not like I'll just leave academics aside and I'll just focus on case comps. I tried to balance both. And eventually, once I started getting clarity in terms of where I want to focus, how I need to channelize my energy, with whom I should be working, what is giving me more benefit. So, primarily, we learn this impact effort analysis. So, with maximum, how are you getting maximum impact with lower efforts is something which is appreciated, right? So, that is
Yeah.
what I was trying to do with my options, with whatever options were available for me. And I felt that case forms fits into that bracket.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. So like you also mentioned about like with whom you want to work or like with whom you will make a team to participate in a case com. So like how do you go on selecting or like collaborating with the other students or like whom you get for like with which one you want to participate in a case competition. So how do you go on with this?
I think there are two, three ways primarily to answer this question. First is how the case com wants you to proceed, right? So, for example, if the initial rounds of a particular case com wants the PPT to be very unique, they want a lot of creatives in it. For example, they want maybe a video that you are making to showcase how you are going to launch a new product if they are launching something. or maybe how you're going to change the theme of the current advertisement of a particular product, then you will need creative people in your team. Whereas if a case comp, for example, a consulting company is pushing for a case comp, then the consulting company might be looking at how you are checking the financial viability of whatever ideas you are suggesting, how you are actually structuring the whole presentation. So at that point of time, you need a person who is more inclined towards a structured approach. Whereas in the first case, you want someone who is more creative. Um, Again, the second way to look at it is how many individuals you can have in your team. So in most of the case comps, they give you an opportunity to have three players. So I would basically try to add one person who is more structured. I would preferably take the creative part. And the third person would be looking at maybe the financial viability, the executive summary, or the other elements of the presentation, right? And there are certain case comps wherein you are going solo because they expect you to be performing individually. So that depends on you how you are particularly picking a particular case comp, how you're going to move ahead with that. Because you will have 100 opportunities. Out of 100, maybe you're just going to work for 20. So that depends on you.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So like I also believe like I haven't participated in so much of the case competition that you have, but yeah, like in one of the case competition, like when I should team up. So more focus is about getting a persons from a different background. Say like if I am from a finance background, so I can handle the financials or like the financial viability as you mentioned, and the other person can be a more creative and like who's a good with the PPT. So yeah, like to sum up, I think so like a person from a different background can help like the students to is a case competition or like running into the first or the second rounds of the case competition. Yeah.
What I feel is, of course, that thing is important, but at the same point of time, you need you have to be in sync with what your teammates are thinking, right? My primary focus always used to be whether I am in sync with the other person who is part of my team or not. If we have the same bandwidth, then that is the best thing that you can have, and then you can maybe think about people from different background coming in afterwards. That was usually my strategy. Some people go ahead with having people from different backgrounds. That also helps. But what I felt was if you want consistency in terms of results, then the partner should be in sync with what you are thinking. Before me telling them, at times they would realize that if I have stated a first pointer, then how the third pointer is correlating with it. So that is the kind of bonding that we have. And I think that helps you a lot even when you're presenting it.
Got it. Yeah, Akhilesh, thank you. So, like, there's also one thing like when you join a B school in the first few months, like everyone starts either goes for a networking or may they start like focusing on a case competitions. Like, there's a generally a hype like, okay, you should enroll for a case competition or like maybe a committees inside the B school also pushes you to focus on a case competitions. People registers for it, but most of the people are not serious about the case competitions. So is it like when you are choosing a team member for your case competition, the person who is or like who you want to become a team member should also be a very serious to a case competition. Like as far as I believe, like if the other person is not a serious or like if all the three persons or the four persons, like the cohort is a serious in a case competition, then you can definitely ace your case camp for competition. What is your take on it?
I think, yes, in the second year, you would realize who all are serious, who are not serious, who would be serious for a particular kind of case com, who might just
Yeah.
take it casually. Because there would be people who would be serious for maybe consulting case comps. They might not be very interested in terms of marketing case comps. And overall, these people are individuals who can add a lot of value, but just for that particular situation, maybe they are not able to. So these conditions would always be there. But when we're talking about first year students, I think it becomes very difficult for you to choose a particular
Mhm.
individual and say that this would be a person who will put in 100% efforts. Because at times, when you start working on the case, then the person realizes that we might have to put maybe 50 hours instead of 5 hours. to get to the next round. Because we are not the only team who are submitting it. Maybe there are 50 other teams, and in each team there are four other individuals. So there are 200 people working on it, and from this campus, maybe only two teams are going to go ahead. So out of 200, only eight people are going to get selected. Maybe they will get PPIs as well. So is that going to motivate you? That is one thing. Second thing is, I think you would always find the best pair, the best team in the first semester or first trimester itself. Sometimes there would be some permutations and combinations. There are people who find their teammates by the uh, first half of second year, or even at times the second half of second year. Because unless and until you don't maybe participate with a few individuals, you don't know how they are going to perform. Sometimes a person performs well with you, but that person might not be able to perform with me, because that other team had a completely different ideology. I have a completely different ideology. So this thing also matters, and I don't think so. This is something to feel disheartened about, because this is just natural. This is normal selection process. Matlab, this would happen all the time. You won't find every person who is in sync with you. You won't be able to maybe communicate with each and every person. At times you'll win, at times you'll lose, and that's part of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true, Akhilesh. Yeah. So like you have presented to so many CXOs, and like while participating in your case com, like you have made tons of PPTs. So like what were the few things that emerged as a like a common factor like in most of the case competitions? Like you also mentioned when you are like as you are working with the Reliance, you have also worked on a maybe a like you look for a user journey, or it might be like what can be the TG for the like for this particular product. So like when you present in a case competition, or like in your initial presentation, what were the few things that were common across the case competitions? Maybe a particularly specific to a marketing domain.
To be frank, in terms of solution, there is nothing common, because
Yeah,
every marketing case com would have a different product, would have a different set of problems, and each company would have a different ideology that they follow. So your solution always varies with the ideology of the company, even if the product is the same. But if I have to highlight a commonality, I'll say that there is a very high emphasis on market research. So most times what people do wrong is they focus a lot on solution, but they don't focus on research. Whereas usually your solutions should come out of the primary and the secondary research that you're doing. Because actually in the primary and secondary research, you find those minor problems. If you are able to fix those minor problems, the impact that those solutions will have would be major. So, for example,
yeah,
I'm maybe improving customer experience about of a certain of effort, but the offtake of that product increases by 20%. It means that my revenue is increasing by 20% by just putting in 15 days of effort of one person. So this can create a huge impact in terms of revenue. And at the same point of time, you're not putting in that much man hours, or you're not investing a lot of money into it. So company look for these kind of insights, because think when a company is going to design a case form, don't you think that they must have already thought about that problem? They have senior individuals who are working in those industries for years, at times for decades, and maybe they want a outsider view in terms of what are the issues that you think that our value chain might be having, or what are the issues that you think our products is having. They already have 20 years of experience, right? They must have already figured it out. They just want you to maybe look at it again, and if there are some commonalities that you are able to highlight, then these are the things that these individuals are looking for. Because you cannot replicate what you have learned in 2 years uh, and compare it to these individuals who have worked in the industry for 20 years. You don't know maybe even 10% of what they know, but you are being selected just because there are some overlaps in terms of what they are thinking and what you are thinking. So you need to match that, right? And it usually happens when you are able to understand uh, what exactly the problem is, and when you try to dig deep into that problem and maybe bifurcate in a way, wherein the solution looks very simple. If you integrate all those bifurcations, then maybe you'll be able to find two or three minor things, which if you're able to connect, you'll get a good solution, which has a considerable impact on the overall results.
Got it. Yeah. So you also mentioned about like there is some ideology that the company follows, like a specific ideologies to the solution that they are looking for. So when you were participating, so is that like for like you were also researching more about a company specific, like in the past the companies have come up with this type of a solution, and based on those scenarios, the company can move toward this kind of a solution. So is this like a company specific, like you were looking at like you were researching a bit more lot about of a company and then coming up with a solution?
Uh, so yes, I was researching a lot about the company as well, and this was not just me who was doing it; it was also my teammates, right? And why it is necessary is, so whenever a company maybe gives an advertisement, for example, if we talk about Titan or if we talk about Tanishq, there is an ideology of a company which is replicated in that advertisement. So a company like Tata may not try to use or take an advantage of the gray space that is available in terms of legality. But for example, there might be some other company B which can take advantage of this blur area, this gray area, and make an advertisement which might rub off some people and which might not be good in context of a certain audience, right? So you also need to understand that where you are going to add which elements into the whole solution, right? So if I'm talking about, let's say, Santur, you'll always see that they have a melodious
Yeah.
theme in terms of their advertisement,
Yeah.
and they'll always have a girl and a mother. So they focus
Yeah.
primarily on that family wala theme, right? Whereas maybe if you're talking about Fiamma Davis, so they are more playing more towards a youth, right? You will have Sara Ali Khan, I think, who is the current lead actress in their advertisements and all. And she is not a mother. She either is a college goer or a first jobber. And the theme changes on the basis of which your solution should also change, because that solution should be coherent with what the company's ideology is. If there is some coherence, then your idea gets approved. Otherwise, it would become difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. So just a follow-up question. When the CXOs design the case competitions, they like they have a particular solution or might be like the difficulties that the company will be facing on, and based on that, like the and on the other side, the MBA grads prepare their solution, and there might be an overlap. So is that like they want MBA graduates to vouch like what is the situation and how the person is assessing the situation, and based on that, those results are declared?
I think there is not 100% surety in terms of whether the CXOs have a particular solution in mind. So there might be three, four cases. I'll just give you an example. So, for example, in one case, like you said, uh, the person who is making the case already has a solution in mind, which that person has thought of, and they just need a validation from the teams who are submitting whether that is a good approach or not. And these individuals would not be a CXO level person. That individual would be a 3 or 4 years experienced person, because usually CXOs won't look for validation, right? They are not reporting to anyone. They are heads in their own department, and they already have a lot of understanding. Then there will be a second case wherein they have already done research. The whole company knows about this problem. The whole company is actually brainstorming about the solution, but they want consumers' view from the third party, which would be the students who are participating, right? So usually what happens is when I'm working in a company, for example, for 15 years, I know that my product inside out. When I know my product inside out, no, I become slightly biased that my product is better than any other competitor. And it might be a better product, but customers are not looking at the specification of the product. Maybe customers are looking at the packaging of it. And maybe the issue is with packaging and not the product itself. And that the company wants to understand what is the issue, right? And And I have given you a very simple example. Usually, these cases are true as well. And at times, there might be situations wherein how you are portraying the product is also important. So, I have given a product a premium packaging in 15 rupees. So, competitors are giving the same packaging in 30 rupees. So, at times, the consumers might perceive it either as a cheap product, because if they have spent so much on packaging, maybe the insides of the product or the quality of the product is not that good. Or there might be some issues with respect to the coloring of the packaging, which is not in sync with the culture of that particular region. So these kind of issues can always be there. And third thing is they, which is I think the one of the most important things, that they are looking for individuals who can match the ideology of the company and who can work in the company. That is the reason why these companies also give PPIs and PPOs to individuals,
Yeah.
because this is a very simple way to see whether these individuals are a good fit in our organization or not.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah. So, what do you think, like, based on your so much of your, like, so many of your personal case com experiences, what do you think, like, panelists look while assessing a team, like, based on your presentation or based on your solution? These companies releases PPO and PPI. So, generally, what happens is if you are participating in a team of a three or four, it might be like a person, only a single person, or maybe a two persons are getting a PPO or maybe a PPI. So, like, what do you think, like, panelists look while you are presenting, like, while they are assessing as a team as a whole?
Uh, I think there are two, three things that a panelist must be looking at, though I'm not very sure, right? This is just my
Yeah,
speculation.
yeah,
First thing is how you are able to structure your thoughts when they are asking you questions, right? So, how are you able to answer that particular question that the panelist is asking? Second thing is whenever you are presenting, they expect the presentation to be very structured and very detailed, but you usually won't have a lot of time to go through each and every pointer. So, are you able to clearly communicate whatever is written in the PPT in a short and simple manner, so that a person who is viewing it for the first time should also understand the basic of whatever you have explained in the presentation? And third thing, at times, which a lot of reputed organization looks at, is the profile of the individual. If a person is having a consistent profile, then the likelihood of that person getting selected is slightly higher. But if your profile is not that good, but if you are able to overshine all of your teammates, all the competitors, then I think you are still given the opportunity to join the company, which I think at times happened with me as well, that I was able to present it in a better manner. And that was the reason why I was given a lot of PPAs as well.
yeah. So, like, you have, like, as far as I know, you have awarded like a three or four or maybe a five PPIs while you were like in your 2 years of MBA. So, like, what, like, there are like a whole gamut of case competitions available nowadays. So, like, which are the most sought case competitions, and like based on your different domains. So, if you can specify, like, particularly related to a marketing, or maybe there is when you mentioned there's a quite a lot of boom related to a product management case competitions. So, if you can highlight the, like, the viewers with the what all case competition they should be focusing while they are in the first year or maybe in a second year. So, like, really that will be really helpful.
Uh, in marketing, there is HUL. HUL conducts case form. Then there is ITC Intro Bank. You have Marico over the wall. Um, then there is a company called DS Group, which had a case form last year. Uh, Asian Paints also has one. So all of the major marketing companies, Reckitt has one. All of the major marketing companies have at least one case form. For product management, you will have Microsoft, the dream company. Then you have Optum. And again, in consulting, if you go, then you'll have Big Four conducting a lot of case comps for first year as well as for second year individuals. Then there is Avalon Group in consulting, which
Yeah, great, great. So, like, I also remember, like, people were saying, like, if Akhilesh is participating in a case form, we should not participate in a case form. Like, so there was so much of a Akhilesh is and his team is participating, like, there's a less chances of winning. So, like, what was the main mool mantra to ace the case competition when you have participated?
I think there is no such mantra. Actually,
No, no,
people
definitely.
exaggerate things genuinely. Reason being, see, in the first year I maybe have participated in 10 or 12 odd case comps. Out of those 10 or 12, I was able to reach finals in three or four, and subsequent rounds I was able to clear in a lot of them. From the first case form itself, I was able to maybe at least breach two or three rounds, right? But most of the individuals don't focus on the consistency part of it. So when you know which are the elements were missing in your solution in the last case form, you make sure that those elements are not out of the picture this time. So those elements shouldn't cost you this case form, right? And after maybe submitting 30-35 submissions, if you still are not clear, then maybe you are not evaluating what you have done in the past correctly. And my team's major focus used to be, if we are not the first prize winners, or if you are not in the podium positions, then what are the things that we have done wrong and what are the things that they have done correct? So we'll make sure that we go to them, we talk with them, we spend at least 2 to 3 hours with the winning teams. We would go back to the judges and we'll ask for feedbacks. Even if they're able to give us two or three inputs, those two or three inputs are more than enough for us to maybe improve our presentation next time. So the mechanism that we used to follow was, make something, try to learn what were your mistakes in it, work on it, and in the next round try to present it in a better way. And we'll always try to experiment with it. So we won't follow a specific structure per se, or a specific methodology of presenting our case. Every time we encountered something different from our competitors, if there is something good, we'll try to understand how we are able to include that thing in our presentations as well. And what happens at times is, there would be a team which is very proactive, which will go overboard and maybe make a song for a particular uh, product or a particular case and they'll maybe present it in front of jury. So there was this situation wherein five of the teams did that. We were the only team who made a script and we presented it. All the people felt that this is not up to the mark, because everyone have made a song, they have choreographed something, and they have done that, and we have just like read it from a paper. That too, I wrote it like 15 minutes before the presentation. So it was not even something on which we spent 7 hours, 10 hours like the other teams. But one thing was clear, that we had a specific idea that we had in mind, and we tried to portray that idea. And when both of these things are in sync, and when you're confident, why you didn't go for pitching a song? When the CXO asked me why you have not made a song like other teams, and we were the last team presenting, I explicitly said that, see, sir, we are not comfortable in doing these things, and this is not in which I am an expert, right? So I'm an expert in terms of maybe collaborating with my teammates and making up a solution which is coherent with the ideology of the company, and I have focused on that. These individuals have focused on something else. So not taking something away from them, but there are some skill sets in which you are good at, something you are not good at, you just go there and accept it. I think that would be my answer for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely true, Akhilesh. Yeah. So, one last question for this, today's podcast, like, what can be the one thing that you like you as far wait. Yeah, sorry. So, apart from learning through various case competition, what is the one other thing that you think that is the most value added for you while you have participated in a case competitions?
I think when you go through this journey of participating in a lot of case comps with a lot of individuals, learning about a lot of companies, understanding different products, and maybe coming up with solutions which, in one case, wouldn't have might not have been applicable, but in a certain case, it is. All these things, all these experiences teach you one thing, that is, you need to be persistent and you need to be consistent at the same point
Yeah,
of time. Uh,
agreed.
Now that I'm working in a product launch, I understand that there are a lot of loopholes when we are launching a new product. But On the second day, you try to minimize the mistakes that you have done on the first day, and you need to be persistent in terms of pushing. You cannot feel demotivated on maybe 15th day that we are not able to reach our target. Maybe you will be able to reach the target on the 30th day, or
Yeah,
maybe on the next month. But if you're not consistent and if you're not putting in efforts, no, then it is not going to reflect anyways. So I think being motivated enough to put in that much efforts and not lose your hope is something that I've learned, because I am not someone who have won each and every case comp. There might be a few people who have participated in specific case
yeah,
competitions and they won it. I learned from my mistakes, and I think that is a more humane way to grow. I am not a one of the brightest individuals, but I think I consider myself as a person who would put in efforts whenever they are necessary, and those efforts kind of bear good fruits when it actually matters. So yeah.
totally agreed, Akhilesh, with this. So yeah, thank you, Akhilesh, for coming on board today and helping our juniors that will be going forward with the 2 years of journey and how they will look forward for the case competitions. Like you have a really busy schedule, like related to a product launch, and it looks so interesting and like a very challenging role. So I really wish you all the best for your product launch and yeah, thank you so much for having a time today and coming on board. Yeah, thank you.
Actually, I am also very grateful that you've asked me to come on board and maybe conduct this session to help you in terms of talking about this topic of case competition. This is my first experience as well, and I think I got to learn a lot from you as well. How you're moving into different dimensions and maybe showcasing our juniors what MBA life is, what are the different aspects of it. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Akhilesh. Thank you for your kind words. Have a great day.